Hi, this video is a continuation from how to work out percentages using place value. So you'll need to watch the first video if you're not sure about that. And in this particular video, we're going to look at how you work out 10% and how that can be useful in working out other percentages. So I've got some amounts up here, and at the top it says, what is 10% of? So that is our question, and we're going to look at answers, and I'm going to change colour for this. So as we explored in the first video, if you're looking for 10%, that is the same as dividing by 10. And because we work in a system of tens, the digits are going to stay the same. They're just changing their value on place value. So if we've got 470, then 10% is going to equal £47. I won't go too much into this because it's explained in the first video, but the hundreds become tens, tens become units, so we get £47. And once you get this, then finding 10% is very straightforward because you're just shifting those numbers, no calculations needed. 350, so ml, millilitres. It doesn't matter what we're talking about, what's our unit. So in the first one, it's pounds. In this, it's millilitres. If we find 10%, then that is going to be 35 mil. Abbreviation of millilitres, mil. The next one is looking at metres, and we've got 68.5 metres. 10%, and you can pause this video at any time if you want to do it yourself and then start playing to check your work. 68.5, 10% is going to equal 6.85 meters. And it doesn't matter that here we've got just one digit after the decimal point. When we divide by 10, everything's going to shift just in the same way. So we end up with 6.85. And then finally, we've got 10%. No, sorry, not finally. Penultimately, we've got 10% of 28p, which is 2.8 pence. And this is a typical example, and you can see this when you look at things like petrol prices or gas or electric bills. We sometimes have these weird amounts that don't exist in actual money terms, but mathematically, that is what would happen. The maths doesn't change, the situation does. So if we were looking for 10% of 28 pence, it would be 2.8p. And even though that doesn't exist in our money terms because we don't have 0.8 of a p, mathematically that's correct. And what's probably going to happen is it would get rounded up to 3 pence. Okay. And finally, we look at population of 6 million people. So if we want to use 10%, we need to be clear about what 6 million looks like if you had it in place value. And the key thing to remember here is millions, in whole numbers, will have 7 digits. So we will have 6 followed by 6 zeros, and I put a little gap in between. If you're not confident about larger numbers and how they're written, do spend some time thinking about that or working on that. 6 million. So because this is units, tens, hundreds, and then the next block are all in thousands. So we have thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, and then millions. So if we write it out in full, we can see it's that amount. And so if we want to find 10%, we are just shifting everything one place. So it looks like we're going to lose a zero. And we would, let's write 10% in. 10% would be 600,000. Okay, so what we're seeing here is the maths is exactly the same. Everything's shifting one place because we're dividing by 10. But on top of that, once we understand the maths, we've then got to use it in context and understand the context that we're being given. And in these examples, they're all different units of measure. Okay, great. So if that is starting to make sense, let's see how we can use that further. So in this next page, we're going to look at 20%. So I would suggest a very simplistic way of finding 20% is to find 10%, which we already know is £47. So 20% is going to be 2 times 47, which is £94. So if you're good at doubling, timesing by 2, adding the same amount, then this is really quite simple. Okay, if 10% is 47, then 20 is just double the amount, 10 plus 10. 350 millilitres, so we knew that 10%, wrote a pound sign, is 35 mil. So therefore, 20% is 70 mil. 2 times 35. I'm not doing these calculations, writing them out, because I'm hoping that with practice you can just double numbers quite easily. Next one, 68.5 meters. So we said 10% would be 6.85. And here, maybe because it's not such an obvious answer, let's do it. So let's say another 10% would be 6.85. I need to add those together, because if I add them together, this is going to equal 20. And so this will also equal 20. 5 and 5 is 10, 0, carry 1. 8 and 8 is 16, add the 1, 17. I'm going to put the 7 there and carry the 1. 6 and 6 is 12, plus that 1 is 13.70. So 20% is £13.7 meters. And just to be clear, although we've got that 0 there, we don't need it. We can say 13.7 meters. It's not wrong to have that 0 there, but it's unnecessary. When we're talking money, we need 2 decimal places because of pence being tenths and hundredths. When we're talking measurement, we don't need that. Okay, you can see the more we do the maths, the more we have to understand other areas of maths. But that's the beauty of it. Everything connects up at some point. Okay, I've made that a little bit smaller, so I've got a bit more room. So let's just reduce the size of that. Oh, don't want that M included. There we go. Let's make that much smaller. And then we've got room to do our 28 pence. So 10%, 2.8. Remember, we're just shifting it. So 20% would be 5.6p. And then finally, we've got our population of 6 million, and 10% was 600,000. So 20% is going to be 1,200,000. And here I'm putting commas to separate each block of 3. In the previous one, I put spaces. You can write either. Commas is what comes naturally to me, but I try to avoid writing them too often, because sometimes as I get scruffier, they start looking a little bit like a 1. So spaces is probably better. Okay, so that's 20%. Because we can find 10% easy, we can double it, and that will give us 20%. So now let's think about if we wanted to find 5%. Well, again, we're going to make use of this 10%. So we can say if 10% is £47, then to find 5%, we need to divide by 2. Divide 47 by 2. 2's into 4, go twice, no remainder. 2's into 7 goes 3 times with 1 remainder. And again, if you're not sure about this, you might want to watch a video on it. But because we've got that 1 remainder, we need to do something with it. So we're going to put a decimal point and a 0 there, because putting a 0 after that 47 with a decimal point in between is not changing the value. But we can then put the 1 remainder next to it and say 2's into 10 goes 5. So 5% would be £23.50. Okay. 350 mil, well, 10% was 35. So if we want to find 5%, we are going to take 10% and we're dividing it by 2. Does that make sense? Because we've got 10%, half of that will be 5%. 2 goes into 3 once, and we've got a remainder of 1s. Let's pop it next to that 5 in front of to make 15. 2's into 15 goes 7 times, and there's 1 remainder. So I'm going to put my decimal point with a 0, put the 1 in front of it to make 10. Need my decimal point in the same place at the top. 2's into 10 goes 5. So 5% would be 17.5 mil. If you feel confident, pause the video, have a go at the rest, and then play back when you're ready. I'm going to carry on. The next one, 68.5. So to find 5%, I'm going to divide by 2. That's going to be 2's into 6 goes 3. 2's into 8 goes 4. No remainder, but I've got to carry on because I've got this 5 here. So I'm going to put a decimal point at the top. 2's into 5, 2 with a remainder of 1. And I can continue to put a 0 there without changing the value. 2's into 10 goes 5. So that is 34.25 meters. Always remember to say what you're talking about at the end. Okay, so now we've got 28p. 10% was 2.8. Divide that by 2 for 5%. That's going to be 1.4. And that's pence. And finally, we've got 10% of 6 million is 600,000. And hopefully you can see that if we divided that by 2, 5% would equal half of that, which is 300,000 people. Okay, so hopefully what you're seeing is that by finding that 10%, it leads us nicely onto other percentages, and hopefully without having to do lots of manual calculations or to rely on a calculator. So if you're looking at something like the January sales, where they often say 20% off, 15% off, you can hopefully start to have the confidence to do that in your head by finding 10% and then changing it as necessary.